afternoon sessions, usually very exciting. But I have to give it to the organizers. To have a post-lunch crowd this big is a testament to, very, very good effort. Okay, so coming back to where we are. Navigating sustainably in Iskandar Puteri data centers. I think Paul earlier stole our thunder on data centers. There's a lot of things already has been spoken about data centers. I think if we look at it, it's an inevitable movement. There'll be more and more data centers. Dr. Isham this morning was referring to the Plaza Accord. You can Google it, or you can do a search on ChatGPT. Those ChatGPT searches are queries, not searches. Basically, are multiple more intensive in terms of processing. That you'll require a lot more data centers as we go. So, as we look at that, I think Faiz also just now was talking about the climate cost of AI. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we have so much technology that we can get and utilize benefit for the good of a lot of people, for mankind. But at the same time, how are we supposed to do it sustainably? So here I have a panel, very interesting group. So if we were to set the stage, we've got Iskandar Puteri, where Sunrise is, and we have Guan from CapitaLand Investment. And Guan has a solid track record in the data center sector with over 10 years of experience in development, project management, and related roles. And his expertise is focused on the planning, design, and execution of data center projects. Next, we have Kamisah Ghazali. And from a data center player just now, Guan, we go to the authority within Iskandar Puteri, basically the bigger Iskandar region. So Kamisah is a leading expert in advancing sustainable and resilient environments, leading initiatives that focus on improving ecosystems, urban infrastructure, green mobility, and low carbon strategies. And thirdly, how are all these data centers supposed to run without electricity? We've got Rahim Yusof, who's the head of grid strategy of Tenaga Nasional, where he's got more than 20 years experience in TMB's asset management, maintenance, and specializes in managing and strategizing the maintenance and performance of high voltage assets. Now, what I'll do is I'll give Guan just to give a bit of a description of CapitaLand. We know CapitaLand as a real estate player, more than data centers. Perhaps you can explain what you do and how data centers work within CapitaLand.
Thanks. So I'm Guan. I'm the Development Director for CapitaLand Data Centers. CapitaLand, I'm sure everybody knows, we are an investment and asset management company. We currently hold about 100 billion of funds under management and also about 130 billion of asset under management. A data center for us is a pretty small part at this moment of the whole company. We currently own and operate and different products, about 28 data centers around the world, gross power about 850 megawatts. So that's where we are in the data center space at this moment.
Okay, thank you. Kamisah, maybe a bit of your day-to-day scope and how, we spoke over dinner last night that IRDA is a bit different from other authorities. Maybe you can explain.
Well, we are regional authority that plan, facilitate, and promote investment for Iskandar, Malaysia. We are a bit different probably from other agencies. I would consider us as the bridge between the federal government and state government. We work very closely with private sectors and also other stakeholders, especially in bringing sustainability into the region. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rahim?
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Well, why data center is so important nowadays? I think even while we are speaking about data center topics this morning until afternoon, somehow or other the TMB share price going up so much. So, so maybe there's a kind of hot topic for Tenaga. Anyway, we as a major player for the providing power to the industry, especially for the data center, coming from the grid perspective, Tenaga, that deliver the power from the generation side to the demand side. So two things that all these data center client always request that whether the power is adequate or not. Second is that is that reliable enough or not? There's two major concerns about this data center. So people talking about generation plant up, whether it's adequate or not. Because for information, based on my experience, this data center typically we in TMB categorizes as a bulk supply. Bulk supply meaning that whenever they're asking power more than 30 megawatt, a little bit technical, a little bit, more than 30 megawatt, they have to connect to the main grid, the system, talking about high voltage. So for the last 2 or 3 years, the data center that coming in, the number is growing, and the amount of energy they want to use is quite huge. And then the two things they required, they wanted big power, huge power, as well as they wanted being connected yesterday. That's the challenge for us.
Thank you, Rahim. So basically, I mean, going straight into the high voltage issue of power supply, I think Rahim mentioned about having TMB being there, making sure that it will be able to support all the data centers we're talking about. Just coming back to the topic at hand also, I think we'll go back to Guan soon on what makes Iskandar Puteri a strategic location for data center investments from an economic and logistical standpoint, and from your experience, what are the critical factors to balance growth and sustainability in the industry?
Right, thanks, Aman. Okay, I mean, short answer is the plentiful availability of power, right? Thanks to TMB. Yeah, but other than that, I think the previous earlier speakers have also alluded to the fact of close proximity to Singapore, which is already a known data center hub, right? So being so close to Singapore, Johor has the access to the networks that the network reach Singapore's landscape. And also, interestingly, you have quick access to the data center design and construction talent pool that has already amassed or has reached a critical mass in Singapore, right? With this close proximity being just a 45-minute drive away, the deployment for data centers becomes very quick, right? The turnaround time is shorter, and that's the most important thing in all data center development, the ready for service timing, the RFS timing, right? So with that really enabled Johor to really jump on the bandwagon and to grow into a data center hub in its own right. As for how to balance sustainability and growth, I think this is a challenge everybody in the audience will face. But for me, basically, how we do things is we understand what is our goals first, right? Internally, what's our targets? We have an internal mantra of 3 pillars for data center. Green, for greening data center, green design, green operations, and renewable green energy. So knowing what we want to do, that allows us to then set a target, how to design, how to build, how to meet all these targets, with all these targets in mind. Yeah. I think that's the most important, knowing yourself, right?
Okay. Thank you. And Kamisah, how does the existing infrastructure in Iskandar Puteri support the establishment and the operation of data centers? In your opinion, are there additional improvements needed in utilities and access to critical resources like water, electricity to better support?
Well, just like Guan have mentioned, that the strategic location and also the infrastructure that is already available in Iskandar Puteri is actually one of the main attraction why data center actually choose Iskandar Puteri probably. But I'm sure there are also, the support from the government over certain policies is also important. So, and I think at the Johor state level, more roads and also additional water pipelines, to ensure water supply is also currently being planned to be constructed. And also TMB substation, I heard TMB have, big plans to actually support this type of development. And of course, the budget for this infrastructure given by the federal government is also one of the major factor that I would say showing the support of federal governments to supporting Johor as the new data center hub for Asia. But nevertheless, I think when it comes, there are significant concerns about service providers' ability to actually meet water demand, as I think everybody knows how climate change and pollution actually affect and also a factor, over the depletion of water resources, potentially impacting the long-term sustainability of water supply in the region. So I guess this is where data centers, the developers and players need to look at, new technologies, alternative on how we can actually address this problem through, for example, exploring non-potable water sources such as a desalination plant, where in Johor there are such plans currently being what you call is under discussion, and there are interested parties to look into this, and also in terms of treatment of grey water, which is actually quite new area, but we have been talking about it for the longest time. So I think it's about time that we put plan into actions when it comes to this. I think that's for now.
Okay. So, Rahim, since, we all know that data centers guzzle a lot of energy, and Johor being a state that wants to be the hub for data centers, we can already see quite a number of data centers in the state. Is the infrastructure there for stability and security of supply?
Thank you. Before I dive into that, deeper into that questions, maybe you can have a little bit to put into the context about this data center. This data center, there are two types. They call it enterprise and the hyperscaler. The enterprise normally like Google, AWS, or Microsoft and sebagainya. The hyperscaler is the one that build the infra and then provide all this facility to this data storage as well as perform data computing and so forth. So basically, based on my observation, for data center, when they have intention to go for data center, they are looking for 5 things. First, they're talking about power. Is there adequate power, electricity? Second, is talking about water for the cooling. Third, they're talking about the land, the communication, connectivity, fiber, so on and so forth. Number 4 is the land, and number 5 is the healthy regulatory framework to facilitate, support this process. Talking about this data center, talking about the land first. Since we are in the real estate conference, talking about the land, just my experience. I'm glad to share here that 15 years ago, when UM together with the MB plan development in Iskandar area. We have identified what kind of development to go there, but we are not sure whether industry type whatsoever. But we have identified several number of land to build a substation as well as transmission line and so on and so forth. I'm glad to say now that that decision 10 or 15 years ago, actually in that particular especially Johor is quite, also call it secure in terms of providing land. Okay, that's the first one. Second one is about electricity cost of power. For data center, the big one, I heard recently, just now, I think this morning, Christopher has talked about data center going for 300 or 200 megawatt. Recent information that we got it, people are going to go the data center campus go to 1,000 megawatt. I can imagine how big the campus would be. 1,000 megawatt. There are two applications already. They are putting a proposal, 2,000, 1,000, 2 times 1,000. So this is the challenge. So in Johor, for example, I think what initiated where the data center came to Johor for the last 2 or 3 years after this Singapore introduced this moratorium on this restriction on the new data center. So all these data center players looking for a proximity place whereby they can put the data center. Johor is the best location. Fortunately, I remember 10 years ago, there was supposed to be a big data center from Microsoft to be built. We call it Project Blue in somewhere in Sedana. We built 275 kV substations to cater about 2,000 megawatt kind of supply there. Unfortunately, the project doesn't go through, but that become the so-called catalyst somehow. Rather, a few years later, the people see that Sedana is the best place to put a data center. So Sedana in Johor currently, there are mainly 2 areas that have a biggest data center location. One in Sedana, the other one, of course, in Iskandar, Nusajaya. So back to these questions. So for this data center, more than 30 megawatt, up to 1,000. The highest so far that already committed is about 400 megawatt in Sedana. That's the biggest one so far. Now from Sedana, then it goes to Iskandar. We have planned together with the state government, we so-called, we call it into 3 phases, short-term, mid-term, long-term. Short-term, until 2027, TMB, pretty confident that currently whatever data center request for power is adequate until 2027 because currently Johor actually exporting energy to the central area. Johor, total installation generation capacity in Johor, they got three big power plant there, about 5,000 megawatt. Current consumption about 3,000 to 4,000. Currently we are exporting, Johor is exporting. But in 2 years, 3 years time, then we need power from nearby power station, maybe from IRDA, maybe from central, so on and so forth. The grid is highly connected, so anywhere in the country, actually we can bring the power efficiently. Huge power, we can do that. So with that statements that just to another thing that I would like to mention here, I think CEO Johor Invest mentioned just now, already about 50 to 59 numbers of data center in Johor. For information, latest data from TMB, July, we have 89 applications. 89 applications. We have total consumption. Total consumption. In Johor alone, 89 in the country, the whole country, 39 in the other states, 50 in Johor. Total consumption Johor expected by 2030 is about 2035 is about 12 gig. 12 gig. Current demand, Malaysia, current demand is about 20 gig. Current demand, not data center, I'm talking about the national. National demand is about 20 gig. Imagine 12 gig coming almost half of the current. They're in by 2035. They are not step up load, but they will ramp up slowly and slowly and slowly. So that's why in Johor, we have planned in such a way that there's 3 stages of you're going to strengthen the grid in such a way that the power can be delivered efficiently. Until 27, we'll stay put. I mean, meaning that the system can take it. After 2027, until 2030, we call it midterm. We're going to build a few substations. We call it Nusa Jaya Utara, Nusa Jaya Selatan. All this land was given by last time, I believe, during 10 years ago. So we actually, the wisdom of those people those days, they see this thing. So with that, it makes the situation much more easier for Tenaga to connect it to this data center. Those days, all this transmission right away. The land beside the transmission away. Nobody wants to build a house next to the transmission line. Nobody. Nowadays, it's totally different. Suddenly, the price of land next to the transmission line become very attractive. I do not know how. The price can be double. Because the nearer the data center to the main transmission line, the easier to be connected, the faster it can be connected, so the much more power can be connected. So that's basically the idea. So I stop at this, I will go a little later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So basically up to 2027, we're good. Beyond that, I think that's what the regulators and also TMB is planning about. I think the regulatory period 4 that's coming up, 2025, is the plan going ahead on building up the whole infrastructure in the country to make sure that all of the power needs of the country is met. We've got a few questions actually coming up on Slido. One from one Ong Kian Ming, who's asking, to what extent is the easy availability of solar RE as offsets important for data center customers in Johor at the moment and in the future? So I suppose, Gonsun, I mean, as a data center player, if you were to set up a data center in Iskandar Puteri, how important is it?
Oh, it's very important. Being the biggest, we are the biggest guzzlers of power, right? There's no doubt about it. So it's always how to be sustainable, and renewable is one of our mandate as well, right? To go green where it's possible. It is important, but ultimately everything will still need to make commercial sense.
A follow-up question is, if the authorities were to impose a condition that data centers must fully utilize RE, what's your view on that? Because currently, I think the way that it's priced in the market, if you were to subscribe to the green energy tariff, it's about 4 cents extra. But I think with the coming CRESS program, where you can buy directly from the generator, I think word on the market is it's going to be more expensive. I think the idea of cheap green is probably going away because green will be a premium. So what do you think if it's a requirement?
Well, ultimately everything is still a business, right? We will have to then go back to the books to see how viable it will be. I mean, not just for us. I believe every player out there will face the same issue. We have to go back to the books to see whether it's viable. But yes, definitely, if it's mandated, then it is what it is. We have to do it, right? If we want to continue to play the game.
Okay. The other ones, I've got one question here I want to strike off. Will UEM Lestra potentially build data centers in Iskandar Puteri? No. We're not in data center. We're more on the green power. So we've got, I think, 1 gigawatt solar farm that was supposed to put in Segamat. So that should be good for Iskandar Puteri. Near enough. So coming back to some other angle that we're supposed to discuss, in terms of trying to manage the consumption, energy consumption. We talk about technology on making the data centers more efficient. Guan Soon again, sorry. There's a lot more. It is titled data
No
center.
problem. Happy to answer.
Basically, what technologies do you see to make sure that we can reduce the energy requirement?
Right. So the data center landscape is changing very, very rapidly, right? From when I first got involved in the field about 5 to 6 years ago, 30 megawatt is a very big build. Today, 30 megawatt is a drop in the ocean, right? What's the most significant thing that is driving this change is actually the increasing rack density. As I said, a couple of years ago, we are looking at an average of maybe 6 to 10 kilowatt average. Today, we are looking at 15 kilowatts upwards. So with this big change, I want to refrain from using the word paradigm, but with this change, we need to innovate. We are already at a limit where physics, we are already dictated by physics, right? So now the innovative part is to look for new ways to cool the racks, right? That is where I think Paul earlier in the earlier session has also shared about liquid cooling. I think that's the way forward, be it in direct-to-chip form or in immersion cooling form. I think there's no escaping that. We have to innovate to find new ways to cool the chip to make us more efficient.
That's great. So at least we see a lot of effort being put from the industry itself to make sure that it itself can be contributing to sustainable goals rather than just being a heavy consumer. If we move to the policy and regulatory support, Kamisah, I'm keen to hear from you. Being the lead of the steering committee for resilient environment, ensuring high energy efficiency, among other things, must be high on your priority list. From your perspective at IRDA, what policy initiatives are currently in place to support sustainable practices, renewable energy, solar energy in data centers? How can this be improved?
In Iskandar, Malaysia, we are guided by our comprehensive development plan and also our low carbon blueprint climate action plan 2030. And the objective is actually to reduce carbon intensity by 70%, which is actually a tall order for us. And because of that, we have to look at many aspects of investment into Iskandar, Malaysia must actually adopt sustainable practices, And in terms of, in this particular guidelines or climate action plans, we put focus in terms of promoting energy efficiency, renewable energy, waste management, and also green building. So in the case of data center, we'd like to see a green data center, definitely, which actually among the initiatives is to look at incentive for developers to actually adopt green building practices, including the use of renewable energy and others. At the state level also, with the Johor Green Deal, they are also focusing on several aspects, especially in terms integrating sustainability across various sectors, not only energy, transportation, but also the overall urban development. And green data center, the state is encouraging the development of energy efficient data center, consistent. This is consistent. I think at federal level, we have the Malaysia Renewable Energy Policy. And of course, there are various schemes, that is actually available for data center developers. When we talk about areas of improvements, especially in terms of policy integration and coordination, so I believe that we must have an alignment, proper alignment between federal, state, and also local. Because I think better coordination at this level would definitely, enable us to achieve the overall objective that that is aspired by the national government. And also probably looking at incentive structure. This is what probably a lot of data centers, developers, operators are looking at. I think we should have more targeted financial incentive for businesses, particularly in terms of adoption of renewable energy, and also tax incentive. But I'm not the expert on this. Probably, I will leave it to people in MOF probably to be thinking about it. And another improvement probably the public-private partnership, PPP, in terms of collaboration, encouraging more PPP to drive investment in renewable energy infrastructure, especially solar power in industry and commercial sectors, which I think right now there's already a lot of participation by private sectors. But maybe, like I said, targeted incentive would accelerate some of the plans that we have. And of course, technology, innovation and research, and also capacity building and awareness, because some of these incentives sometimes is available, but the take-up are probably not optimal.
Okay, thank you. If we were to go on providing renewable energy to the Iskandar Puteri area, maybe, Rahim, is there anything that additional upgrades that needs to be done to cater, let's say, our own 1 gigawatt solar farm in Segamat? If we were to channel that power to Iskandar Puteri, do you need upgrades, or is it something which tenants or participants, sector players in Iskandar Puteri can benefit fairly quickly?
Good, thank you. There is saying in Tenaga, for the grid system, there's a tagline, we call it, we get you connected anywhere, anytime, something like that. So that's the mantra, basically. The idea, you want to spur the growth of RE to be connected to the grid. Okay, talking about data center, the energy usage is huge. I think CEO Johor mentioned just now about PUE, talking about our power usage effectiveness. Standard in Malaysia, according to MMC, is about 1.6, if I'm not mistaken. Consider excellent. Minimum is 1.9. Singapore has made it the standard a bit stringent, 1.3. The less is better, going to 1. So this kind of measurement that I think the regulator will put that as a measurement. So the only way that I see data center to grow sustainably in the future in terms of power consumption, apart from they have to manage the power consumption internally, but they must use clean power, basically green. Now it's brown, I don't know, campur-campur lah. So the idea is to going green. So cuma issue dia, how much green do we have in the country? How much green power do we have in the country? People talking about hydrogen, talking about, I don't know, banyak lagi. Solar is, of course, the most hot topic nowadays. Hydro, even talking about solar again, talking about floating solar. We have a lot of lakes. So why not putting a solar on top of the lake? Something like that. For Tenaga, for example, on the National Energy Transition Roadmap, we've been tasked to get another 2,500 floating solar throughout all the dams in the country. So this is kind of thing that we are looking into. Apart from that, under energy and distribution agenda for the country, I think we had to go beyond across the border. Alone in Malaysia, self-sufficient is not that good enough. You want to go green. So if you want to go green, all the ASEAN country shall be interconnected in terms of power transfer. For example, under ASEAN Power Grid Initiative, under HAPWA, we are looking into enhancement of the current interconnection between Thailand and Malaysia and Singapore. As you all know, currently the country have actually a so-called highway, electron highway between Malaysia and Thailand, HVDC 300 megawatt. That's not good. That's not big enough. Thailand has tremendous of green electron because they've invested a lot in Laos. Laos have a lot of hydro. It's green. So it's a matter of bringing the power from Laos through Thailand, through Malaysia, use it in the country, or maybe sell it to Singapore at a very, affordable price, so on and so on. So data center can make use of that. With the CREST coming soon, this month, so that we will expedite the things. So interconnection among ASEAN country is also one of the options. We're also talking about connecting with Sarawak, maybe. Sarawak left a lot of hydro. We are looking into it. We're talking about connection between Malaysia and Sumatra. Actually, this idea has been 10 years ago. Somebody already talked about it. Sebi pun dah buat dan sebagainya. Somehow or other, the funds not there. So you got to revisit and so on and so forth. So an idea of self-sufficient RE in the country is not be the future kind of thing. It's going to be shared resources among ASEAN countries. So the regulation will come, you got to harmonize the standards, the technical standard, the commercial parts. Also, I will look into it. So under the spirit of ASEAN, I believe that that's the way forward, how to bring green to the country as well as feed this to this data center. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We've got a few more questions, very interesting ones. One that I saw just now, which was, please provide some clarity on what happens to water used to cool data centers. Will it be treated? How will this impact biodiversity of surrounding areas? Guan Soon?
Well, actually, contrary to many beliefs, actually the water that we do use in the data center is not so contaminated as it is. Majority of it actually lost through evaporation, right? So it actually returned to nature. For those that we do have to treat with chemicals and we do have to discharge from time to time, the chemicals that we choose to use will not be so damaging to the nature. We try to use neutral. If there is such a thing as a neutral chemical or less damaging chemical, we will try to reduce as much impact as we can.
Okay. So just to be clear, you won't be releasing hot water into the environment?
No, we do not release hot water into the environment.
Whoever asked that question, so it's safe. So it's safe. Everything's good. And I think the other ways of cooling where you're talking about liquid cooling and all that, there's no discharge. It's all,
it's a closed loop system. Yeah.
And another one, this one's for Rahim actually. The question goes, my wife would not live near transmission line. How scientifically valid is this fear? My wife will not live near transmission lines. How scientifically valid is this fear?
She doesn't like the transmission line?
She's afraid that, I don't know, she becomes...
Oh, the EMF kind of thing,
yes,
yeah? Yeah, I'm so afraid, actually. Just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. On that,
not the electricity, the wife. Yeah, that's quite a challenge. Building a transmission line take a long time, as well as huge investment. Nobody wants to be in their backyard. Yeah. So of course the option is to put it underground. Yeah, to put it underground. Yes, we can put it underground, but for the huge power, for example, at 205 kV, maximum they can go, the technology now only goes to 500 megawatts. If you're talking about transmission lines, it can take about 1,205 kV. If you go to 500 kV, there are 3 levels of voltage for the grid system, 132, 275, 500. The 132 can take it about 280 megawatt. The 275 can take it about 1,000. We have already invested a new technology on the superconductor, we call it, quite efficient in a way that we can go to 1,200, 1,300 megawatt. So we don't have to build a transmission line, we just up rating the conductor. We just change the wire, tukar wire je. Tak payah buat baru. This one way of doing it. We are doing it now. Another way of doing it, macam kita buat highway, multiple tingkat kan. One circuit, second circuit, double circuit. Which highway suka 1, 2, 3 tingkat. So we build a quad circuit tower. Quad circuit tower, the same right of way. Instead of double circuit, we got 4 circuit. Now people talking about 6 circuit. I don't know whether they're going to be interested or not. But we have done that 4 circuit. So same right of way, same, no need to, build a new one. So to back to your question, if they're afraid, actually, honestly, this is my experience.
Yeah.
We engage our research department to measure the EMF. Actually, they're afraid of the EMF.
Yes.
Yeah. When we build a transmission line, actually, 2 circuits are normally one A, B, something like that. When we design in such a way, this is built technical. Of course, you all are my engineer. Okay, the flux that appear around the conductor is cancel out each other sebenarnya. The way we design it, red, yellow, blue, blue, yellow, red. So basically, if you go in the middle, it is talking about milligauss tak sampai 10 pun. The highest, if you go to the border or the right of way tu dalam 13-15 sebenarnya. Sebenarnya tak besar. Milligauss is a measurement of intensity of the EMF. If you go handphone you measure, actually lagi tinggi. Actually,
Okay.
that sort of thing that I told my wife lah, to come here down. Okay.
So whoever asked that question, you can tell your wife it's okay. It's okay. And for Sunrise, I hope you do bury the cable so that, nobody, it doesn't affect property prices. We've got a few more minutes left. I think one of the points that we should address is the socio-economic impact of data centers. I think there's always been a tricky thing. Do any Google search or ChatGPT query, you'll see that data centers do not employ a lot of people, and it doesn't really lead to a big job creation or local economy boom. My take is that, any property developer having chunks of land like Sunrise does would look at building up industries. And I think if you look at in terms from the perspective of having industry next door, a data center is as good as any. You don't have, from the residential point of view, you don't have a lot more crowds. You've got basically a building sitting there. The cost of acquiring the land and all that is probably helping out the major infrastructure. And I think that's not a bad thing. Any last points that you want to address on that point? Maybe Kamisah first.
I look at things positively. Data center actually can, what you call, support local community initiatives, especially like in Iskandar, Malaysia, we have this program called Iskandar Malaysia Eco Life Challenge, where we actually bring a lot of knowledge to children, young people. And then at the same time, to me, partnering, if data center can partner with the school district to develop a student science, technology, engineering and mathematics, programs, then digital technology transformation can happen in school. Children can experience, have more knowledge, and that would help, especially in the future development of our young children, embracing the green jobs in the future.
Thank you. So just right, I think we've got 20 seconds. I'll just do a quick wrap up. I think from our panelists, thank you very much. It's been quite engaging, and I think we can clearly say that Iskandar Puteri as a spot to data center players to come. Infrastructure is there. The legal framework, regulatory framework is there. I think IRDA would encourage people to come. And on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you.